Hi, good morning. July 25th. So a couple things. A lot of things. I think the battery's gonna run low, so I'm gonna try to do this quick. One, I woke up at 3:33 this morning. And I went to bed. I fell asleep on the couch. Because it's in my eye. But I fell asleep on the couch watching Ancient Aliens. Have you guys seen that show? Ancient Aliens. Oh, there's a spider web. I stayed up watching Ancient Aliens. I've been watching that. I mentioned I don't watch a lot of TV. Oh, there's something going on. I don't watch a lot of TV. Because sometimes when I dive in, like sometimes I'm like, I start binge watching. And I haven't been binge watching. But I had some downtime, right? I looking at the computer screen to go through all the like quizzes and all the paperwork, which I was like, my eyes were like getting fuzzy. So I put the TV on the background. I was spending time with Mochi, just relaxing a little bit. So I had the Ancient Aliens on the background. And this was a couple days ago when I first started watching it, and it piqued my interest. One, I love sci-fi. I just love sci-fi. I mean, I was in 4th grade and fell in love with astronomy. And I remember taking, we had like a mini courses, and I chose astronomy. And I remember I loved it. I still love being able to look up at the night sky and see the Milky Way. And especially when I'm camping and I'm sitting in my chair and the campfires in the background, I'm hearing it crackle and the smells, and just being able to look up at the sky. And when you look long enough, you see a shooting star, right? Not just one, but many. Love that. I just love staring at the night sky. So I've always been fascinated with science, with the unknown, right? And so that's why I like sci-fi. I like sci-fi movies. I remember this one time, I was actually in San Francisco, and I had the NASA shirt on, t-shirt, back when it was like popular, and I'm walking the street with my friend, my kindy friend, and some random guy points out to me, he's just like, "But do you believe in aliens?" I remember I was kind of taken aback because just a random stranger. I'm wearing my NASA shirt, it's 444, and he's pointing at me, "But do you believe in aliens?" And I smiled and I responded back, and I had to think about it for a brief second, then I responded back, "Anything is possible." He's like, okay. Kind of like validation that I could wear the shirt, right? And it's true, like, there's people who claim to have all these close encounters. I have not had one. Let me just make that clear. I've not been abducted by aliens. None of that. But if someone were to come up to me and tell me that that's part of their truth, I'm going to believe them. That's the truth that they believe, right? Although it hasn't happened to me, I'm not going to rule it out. That doesn't exist. It just hasn't happened to me. So I'm watching these shows, and they're addressing all the questions that I've had. You know, I mean, I mentioned that I don't know anything about, like, I don't really know a lot about, like, that world. And when all this was happening, I was questioning all this stuff. And I remember questioning about Egyptian history, right? Because of one of the paintings that I had in the calendar. And I was looking up, like, what is this painting of? And who are these individuals? And realizing that the description that the one that talked about, what was her name? The goddess of love or something like that. Like, she was like the first one to believe in one God, right? Of all the other Egyptian groups or I don't know what they're called, dynasty clans. She was the one during her time, her reign, that she believed in one God. And then the way that was described, the God of the sun and all this stuff, and then I realized, I'm like, within context, it makes sense. That's all they know, so those are the terms that they can use to describe what they're seeing, right? If we were to consider the possibility. And so then I'm watching this show, and that's all it's about, really. so there was this one episode about this one guy who's, I guess, really well known. I forget his name, something Van something, and he apparently like traveled the world to all these different like ancient indigenous like groups, and there's all these like, you know, and then all the pyramids and all this stuff, and kind of looking at history in another way, looking at the Bible in another way. You know, when we try to interpret, you know, that there's chariots of fire and you know, certain parts of the Bible, right? And trying to look at it within context of that time period, what they knew, the machinery, and how they were able to function. Because they didn't have certain machinery, they're only going to describe things to their best of their ability within that time period, right? So anyways, I was just fascinated that these shows were addressing questions that I had, and I'm like, oh, well, okay, that makes sense, right? That makes sense. And I'm rationalizing it. This is all me rationalizing it, right? I mean, you can rationalize yourself out of anything. So that's one extreme, right? And then it's funny because then he's just like, but I need to make it clear that this by no means is contributed to this new age religion. I'm like, well, what's that? What's a new age religion? So I'm like, okay, good. And I'm taking notes of like what I need to look up, right? So then but then that made me laugh too, because I'm just like, okay, here's another guy, right, who has this perspective of what he's discovered or explored, not discovered because it's there. It's just looking at it in a different perspective. And that he just wants it to be in this little bubble. That it can't translate. He's choosing not to translate. That he's hoping no one takes that and translates it and generalizes it to religion. So I'm just like, how can you keep things separate? Like in my head, right? Like another person who's trying to keep things separate. Kind of like the person that I met yesterday about the religion side. Like, so this guy's all science. And then yesterday was all, and I watched it yesterday, so I guess that's the pattern, right? And this is the person that I met yesterday. It was all about religion and not willing to look at it outside of this context. And I'm just like, but life includes both, right? We can't just isolate stuff. We have to see how it applies in all the parts of our life. Anyways, so that happened. So I fell asleep watching episode, season 5, episode 6 or 8, The Power of Three. You know, it's just like three, right? Like there's this constant theme of threes in my life, right? And I think I might have mentioned it. I don't know if I post, and I'll include it. I'll see if I can find the picture of my sand tray. I did a sand tray experience as a clinician. They offered it to us as a way to just kind of like de-stress and you know, process whatever's going on in our lives. And there was this, I didn't pick it up. Actually, it was my supervisors who picked it up at the time. And I said, please show me what you see, right? Because I created this subconsciously. And so then they said there's this pattern of threes. So I was like, oh, okay, right? And at that time in my life, I was very religious. It's gonna die. But anyways, so I fell asleep watching that. Didn't finish watching it. I realized, right, that I was reflecting on this experience that I had with this person, realizing, right, that I triggered her. I reminded her of her sister and her mom and my mom. She was relating to my mom. And so then I was reflecting on the questions that she was asking me about why am I questioning the truth that already exists? What am I searching for? So I realized and I responded in this way. I've been reflecting about your questions, giving it more thought. And the answer to why I am doing this is because I can question, I can explore, I can ponder my reality, my existence. We forget the things around us that we take for granted, the inventions that have developed over time, inventions that for the regular people seemed unfathomable in that time period. But to the creative person, it was a potential possibility. We would not have cars, machines, or electricity without someone who had a crazy idea in their time. I question my existence simply because I can and choose to, knowing that I can with no spiritual repercussion. That is my belief about my truth and my journey. I am searching for the possibility that there is another way to do life. And then I answered, you know, when she said, you seemed all over the place. And I'm like, well, you know, the questions you have asked don't have simple answers. And it's kind of hard to summarize my life and experience in 1.5 hours. But it was a good learning experience because it showed me what I need to work on and what I need to do to fine-tune my answers if and when I meet with people who have not seen all of my videos, who take pieces of my videos outside of context, and or who claim to be open to understanding, but in reality aren't. And that's okay. Not everyone is meant to be open. We need grounded people to maintain balance, but we also need those who are willing to venture out into the unknown, like Christopher Columbus or Tesla or Ben Franklin or Ford. So thank you for this experience. It will help me grow. Then I put P.S. I apologize for the early text. I'm a morning person. Have a blessed Sunday. So that's my response. I'm glad for this experience because it triggered self-reflection and it triggered a growing experience for me. So how can I not appreciate it, right? I could be upset that she's challenging me and that she doesn't get it. No, I don't. I expect that. I'm grateful for this conversation, for this meetup, because it's just preparing me for what is yet to come. That's all. So, okay, I have to really clean because I have to get out. I'm leaving to Santa Paula today for a fundraising event. So, yeah, guys, take care. Bye. My name is Yubi, and in case you haven't figured it out, this footage is capturing my experience as I learn to navigate my personal spiritual awakening. I am learning that this experience is unique to each one of us. In whatever way we believe we are embracing living our truth, this just happens to be my journey. And despite me having a graduate degree and a license in clinical social work, this by no means is intended to replace any type of mental health advice. This is just me on a personal level, documenting my experience, shedding light on the truth that I am learning and discovering for myself, and really inviting you along for the ride. If by some magical chance you find this content to be helpful in any way, shape, or form, please click the like button, share the message, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I have an Instagram account, a personal one, and one specifically for this channel that you're more than welcome to check out. I'm an open book. I have also created t-shirt designs. I'm wearing my favorite one right now, which is the North Node design, but I have that and other things that you can look at inspired by this process and journey, and I have the link in the description box as well as in the about section of my YouTube channel. So you're more than welcome to check those items out. Any type of support is great. Again, if you find this content really helpful or meaningful, sometimes when we take that step and be vulnerable, with showing what's inside our hearts and what's really our truth, we realize that we're much more connected than what we thought we were. And so I hope that as I'm living this experience and that you find some type of truth for yourself or find some type of ability to heal in some way just by relating, just by knowing that you're not alone. That really has been my goal with this process, not just being able to connect with others, but really for my own healing. It's definitely been a therapeutic experience and a very creative one for myself. So I thank you, and I wish you all the best, and we'll see what else comes next for me.